Today I've got some new eerie Halloween decor for you. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. The first is the Witchy decor. We're going to use some black chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. Mod Podge, I'm using matte for my project. A variety of paint brushes. Sander, or any type of little sanding tool. Needs to be small, even an emery board. This eek sign from Dollar Tree. They've had it for years and years. Y'all look at this.
What's the big idea?
Really? Really, Goodwill? Anyway, these came off of a hanging sign from Dollar Tree that I took apart and used in another way. So I had these left. We're going to use these. These are from Amazon. I'm going to have that link for you so that you can look yourself. Scrapbooking paper, and then I have these in the pack comes in a variety of sizes. A piece of fabric. I'm going to take the hanger off because we don't need it. Tried to pull it with my hand, would not come off. They're attached with staples. So it's got a little bump there. I'm just going to sand it, and to make it nice and smooth, because in the end I'll paint the back. To start, we're going to paint around the edges and in all of those in-between spaces the chalkboard black color. You can use any black you want, but the chalkboard paint and the chalk paint gives a really good coverage. So you're not going to have to do but one coat on here, and it's going to cover it up and give a very nice outline, which is going to make your project pop. And we like that, don't we? We like those projects to pop. Around and around we go. I found using a narrow brush on a narrow piece really helps. Don't worry though, because you're going to see in a minute I'll make a mess with the paint, and I will show you how you can clean that up. And you do need to clean it up when you put other pieces of stuff on top of it. So this is what it looks like. Of course, you want everything to dry thoroughly. I've even cleaned up the table a bit. This is the fabric and the two pieces I know I want to use. I'm going to trim down this fabric to go on the lowercase e in the middle here. Just going to trim that down. It does not have to be exact because we're going to be trimming it up. No problems, no worries. So now I know where I want it. I'm going to take that Mod Podge and put it just on the lowercase e. And I'm making sure that I make that line straight across the uppercase E. I feel like this is English class. Okay, and we're going to go all the way around that little loop part, because I only want the fabric on here. I don't want it to be on the other letters or the exclamation point. Feels like I'm painting. I'm just trying to get an even coverage here. And you know, when you use fabric and Mod Podge, you want to be a little more generous. So then I'm very lightly going to drag this squeegee over the top. This is a Mod Podge squeegee. I have been asked before where I got it, and I got it from PLAIDonline.com. Now I'm going to go right on top. I'm lifting the corner to make sure that I get it just on the E underneath. So I'm just kind of looking underneath to make sure I get it in the right spot. And I'll go all the way around the E with this Mod Podge. It's easy to do. Y'all, I've got such a busy day. If I'm talking too fast, just forgive me. Kids are back in school. We've got a band thing to go do. We have a meet the parents thing to do. It's a really busy day. On a Thursday of all days. Right here when they know I'm trying to put a video out for y'all. The nerve. So I'm going to go over the edge here just to overlap it. The idea is to get it. You can see the E through the fabric here, and so what I'm trying to say is you want to be sure that you extend it over the sides, because we want the whole thing to become a different texture. Every part that has glue on it is going to be more papery, and when it's that texture, it's a whole lot easier to cut and take off. So I'm just making sure that that is completely flattened out, and I will start drying it. I like to use my heat tool here because I just find that it makes my process a lot quicker. A lot of projects, and I'm trying to save time where I can. If you're enjoying this video so far, consider subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it so very much. So now I'm going to take this scrapbook paper, and this I've used it in other projects, so I'm just, it goes in the bucket with my little scraps, and I'm going to start tearing the paper. You want to tear it in the way that the white part is on the outside so that it looks torn, and it's also going to give you a bit of a divider or edge so that you can tell the difference between the papers that you're using. You will understand when you see me put it down. I know sometimes I say it and it doesn't sound right when it comes out of my mouth, but my brain knows what I'm saying, so I hope y'all's brains know exactly what I'm saying. Now, I'm going to start to cut out. I know I want to use these 2 witches on these papers. I love these little witches. I think they're cute. And the funny thing is, one of them looks like she's scared. Now, what in the heck is a witch scared of, right? She looks like she's spooked out by something, so we're going to go with it. I'm just going to do a rough cut. And then, of course, if you want a fussy cut, you can. But I want to leave part of it kind of rounded and, not as angular, I guess. I don't want to cut her out into a block, and I don't want to take the time to do a bunch of fussy cutting because I'm going to have to make a backing anyway. May as well wait until I can cut it out on a thicker piece, right? So once the fabric is completely dry, I am just going to take my scissors and begin to cut anything that I can cut with the scissors. This is just like the first cut. It's a rough cut. Get the excess off there. And then I can use a utility knife or something like that, an X-Acto knife, to get off anything that I can't reach with the scissors. And I'm just going to go round and round and look for all the excess. I like to kind of start with the outsides because it just seems to be easier to get to, and then I work my way down to the more difficult pieces. This is a little sanding stick that I got from Temu. Y'all, if you're here today visiting with me, I thank you for your time. However you found yourself here, I really hope that you find something you like and stay. Okay, so where I'm able, I'll use my little micro sander here. And you can use a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a pencil, something like that, if you need to get in those spaces. That's how it looks so far. And then I'm just going to sand off all that extra paint that I got that overlapped on the sides because I was hurrying. Because again, the kids are back in school. And I'm going to go over that and just clean it up. I don't want any of the lighter colored paper to, when it's wet, to show that black underneath. So I want to keep it crisp. And I want to see where I want to put my little witches. I like that she's looking upward. I think that that's cute. I like the position of it. And then I just decided to cut the wording off over here. Now you can use anything you want. You can use cards from Dollar Tree. You can use stickers for this. You can use cutouts, whatever you want to use. You could even get a coloring book, color it yourself, cut them out and use it. You surely can. And I do think Dollar Tree has some Halloween coloring books. So you'll be in luck with that. Yeah, I think I like them there. Now look, this is the back of cards. I got the front of the cards for a project, so I cut the back off and we're going to use it. How about that? I could not find my white cardstock. This is going to work perfect. I'll use some spray adhesive. I'm going to take them outside, spray it, put it down. It's going to stick quickly and permanently. So I'm going to take it outside because it has to be in a ventilated area. Spray it and bring it back in. Look at that. She's not going anywhere. There's not a wrinkle to be seen anywhere. Now, I can start deciding where I want to add all of these pieces. And while I'm doing all this, I need to have a little chit-chat with y'all. We need to have a little heart-to-heart here, because I think I need to catch y'all up on a few things. I'll just add some Mod Podge. That's all I'm doing here. Adding some Mod Podge and then sticking down the pieces where I want, and it's totally okay if they stick out or overlap. Okay, that's what we're doing. So you can just watch what we're doing while I talk. Y'all, I do believe that there are things in life that happen that are not meant to be permanent. I wish that I could say that I had better experience when I say that, but I've not been I've been holding some things back because I didn't want to burden anybody, and I didn't want this to be a place where we talk about these kinds of things, but it's time that I told y'all because I need y'all to understand and give me some grace. There's been some changes in my family over the past few months, and I am a single parent now. I am taking care of my kids, and um, so now that school is back in, I am doing everything, and it's taking a lot of my time. I don't want to get overwhelmed. I love my work. I love what I do, but it's just the circumstances. I have to have more time with my children. So I hope you understand. Um, yeah. Okay, so moving along here, I don't worry about what is sticking out, what overlaps, and whatever. You can feel it and you can tell what's going to be on the top and what's going to be shown, and that's what you want to focus on because you're going to be cutting off, sanding off, removing the pieces that are overlapping on the insides of the letters and that sort of thing. So it's almost like a puzzle, but not. Um, you know, you know what I'm saying. We've decoupaged before. In fact, I've done another project with the same ink sign that I love very, very much. And I will try to find that video and link that for y'all if you're interested. There's a lot of potential with these words. I think one says boo. I think. So yeah. Moving along here. I just want you to see that you can use a bunch of different media. I've got fabric on here. I've got some cardstock. The prints are thin, like a regular paperweight. They're not thick. They're thin. Now, when you put Mod Podge on, if you're bothered by wrinkling in Mod Podge with thin paper, you're going to not want to put the top layer on here. You're going to use a little bit and let it dry. This is Halloween, and for me, it will look more aged if we leave the bumps and lumps in there, and that's what I'm going with. I'm just embracing it and moving along. Now, since we've got these on the cardstock, it's much easier to cut without worrying that I'm going to tear anything. And I'm going to trim around the hat and then pretty much leave the rest of that outline right where it's at. It's going to give it a little more beefiness when I am ready to put it onto the ink sign. Because I'm going to have these overlapping a little bit. See, they're kind of overlapping, kind of hanging off the E a little bit. And that's what we're going to be doing. So the cardstock is going to help with that. By the way, today's date is August the 15th of 2024. So if sometime into the future you see and hear my comments, that's why. If you don't understand, then that's why. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put a little bit on the back, decide where I want her to go, put a little on the back of her, and then press it down. Now the card will try, well, I'm going to say the card, this little witch, it will try to come up a little bit or curl upward, but as you're drying it, all you have to do is tap it down and it will stick down to the bottom. I'm going to Mod Podge over the top of everything, and I put Mod Podge on every time I turn around. I'm putting more Mod Podge on because I want this to be one piece that stays together. And once we start cutting and trimming the pieces away that we're not going to keep on there, I want to be darn sure that nothing comes loose. So it looks kind of ratty right now, doesn't it? But it's not going to stay that way, so don't worry. I'm going to dry it. You can see the little witch on the bottom. I'm patting her head down so that it stays on the glue. I'm going to also flip it over and do the back of it. And then I'm going to put it on a surface that won't hurt. See, I put it on here. I do have a self-healing mat. Put your spectacles on. But I'm doing this on the back of a canvas that I got from Dollar Tree. I just use this canvas. It's like a little cutting surface. You can cut through it. It's not going to hurt your table. It works great. So that's what I'm doing. I've also painted on it. I just left the plastic on it. Talk about saving some money. Yeah, and we can still use this later for another project if we want. Now I'm using my utility knife and trimming off what I can there. You can also grab your little sander and you can sand off. Look how that black just pops around all of that when you get it trimmed. It looks so good. Wait till you see it when it is completely done. I like it a lot, and I hope that you do when you feel inspired. So some of that paper overlapped on that E. I just peel that off. I don't know if I leave that in the video or not, but I do peel that off, and I'm just cutting around. I'm feeling where I need the knife to be, and I'm leaning it right up against it's not wood, the MDF or whatever it is, and using that as a guide so I know where to cut. And it works really well doing it that way. And then you can also use the knife to scrape off what you need to scrape off. Now I am going to put some distressing around the edges. This is my antiquing wax, because you know how we do on this channel. I'm using a finger dauber, and I am going to go all the way around the edges.
Get ready for the ultimate Christmas crafting experience. Join Sammy from Unicorn Dust Designs, Brandy from Making It My Own DIY, Kendra from Late Night Creations, and Kay and Trish from Crafting Cousins for Christmas Crafting Live. We will have two themes, Santa and Nativity. Purchase your kit now by clicking the link below. Deadline to order kits is Monday, September 2nd to ensure we can get yours to you in time for the party. Christmas Crafting Live, Saturday, September 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern.
All that information's in the description box below, so you can check that out. So continue along, and if you get a little bit of wax someplace that it doesn't need to be, just go ahead and wipe that back off. It is not a problem at all. You definitely want to wait and do the waxing step last. Look, he's got the boogie fever. Wah, 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 wah. I thought he was funny. I thought y'all might could use a little laugh. I got a little serious there, and I don't want anybody worried, okay? I'm all prayed up. I know where I'm at. It's okay. It's going to be all right. We're all going to be all right. So continue around here and go all over as much and as heavy as you like. The places that you can't get with a sponge or a sponge brush, or you could even use a Q-tip if you wanted to, but you just go ahead and grab your brush and add that wherever you need to add it. And then dry it, because wax has to be dried too, just like paint does. Paint and glue. Then as I'm drying with my right hand, the left hand is cleaning off the table, getting ready for the next project, because that's how I do things. All right, now I'm going to go around here, and I am going to add in the wax around all of these pieces. All around the edges. It's kind of bumpy. I'm going to go around the edges, and then I'm going to go around the little opened area on the sides. I also decided when I did that to go ahead and pull that color in and over the top of the orange, just to mute it out a bit too. I want everything to look like it belongs together. I'm going to use these little blocks. You can get pieces like this from Dollar Tree and glue this on the back to give it a little more stability, because we're going to be putting the other pieces on there, which is going to add some more weight, and I don't want anything to become unstable or fall apart. That'll do it. Then of course we're going to paint the whole thing black on the back. Now for those of you who wanted to know how I decide what goes where, I am going to show you. This is just kind of how I do it. I just put it there and decide what I want to do. What you see in my videos is once I've decided where I want to put it, for the most part, because my videos can be quite lengthy if I show you everything, and I don't think y'all want me to keep you that long. I know y'all have other things to do than watch my videos, but I appreciate you being here for sure. Now try your best to put the glue where there is no wax, because sometimes the wax can repel the glue, which would make a weak bond and things could pop off. And if somebody walked by and knocked it over, then you might lose a piece, and you don't want that to happen because you work so hard on it, right? Make sure that the spider doesn't get in the, or anything doesn't get in the way of the bottom, so when you stand it up, it will sit flat. And this is how my final piece will look. You could add lights if you wanted. You could just paint these if you didn't want to do the decoupage, but I love doing the decoupage. I think it's a unique look, and it's kind of fun for me. I like being a messy painter, a messy gluer, a messy crafter. That's how I am. Y'all see how I used the fabric on, I kind of pulled that to the very bottom and added some at the top too. It's just torn pieces of that same fabric just to bring that color up a little bit. And I really do hope that y'all like this. Again, you know, what I can link, I will link for you in the description box below. The black flame candle is next. This is from Temu. This is similar to the one that they have at Bath & Body Works. It's the candle holder. If you have that one and you want to change it, you could certainly change it. But for me, I have this one, and I am going to be giving it a little bit of a makeover to make it my own. I am going to recycle this flameless candle. I'm going to use painter's tape and some gloss black paint. Also some flamingo red and some color shift paint. I'm going to use a couple of brushes. This one has a little point on the end, a little fluffy brush with a point. We're going to start off by taking some masking tape or painter's tape or whatever tape and putting it right over the flameless part of the candle, the little tip where the light is. Wrap that up because I don't want to get any spray paint on here. If you get spray paint on it, you won't be able to see through it, and we still need to have a bit of light come through to make it look like a lit candle. So the alcohol spray, if you don't seal it, will wipe off. So I'm going to take a baby wipe and go ahead and wash that off. Clean it and get all of the little corners and just make sure everything is nice and clean and nothing gets in the way. Then I'm going to dry it as well. You do not want to put paint on top of any wet surfaces on the wet plastic or it will not stay. Take it outside, spray paint it one good coat, let it sit. While it is drying, we are going to work on her. So I'm going to work on the sleeve, and I'm going to take some of that color shift paint. It looks white at first, but once you put it down, you can see that it's like a purpley reddish color, and it will actually dry as an iridescent type coloring. Look at that. It's very pretty. Try to keep your strokes about the same, because unless you don't mind if it's not even. It would drive me nuts if I had a clump of color in one spot and none in the other, because I look at things that closely. I am that girl. I am that hard on myself. That would drive me crazy. So I want to show you how to do it the right way, and I'm just going to make sure that it's even all over the entire sleeve. It's black underneath, and then this is what's on top. Then you need to let that dry. So I like to use my drying tool to save time, and you'll see that the color will change as it begins to dry. You're going to lose the milkiness of that whitish color that, I don't know, the background, whatever you want to call it. And then all you will see is the shift in the color, which to me is very magical and pretty. Okay, so you're going to let that dry, and then we're going to take some of this gold. How you dern? Nice to meet you. And I'm going to go over this brassy gold color. I like the idea of it being more aged looking, so I'm just going to go over this here and get all down in all the spots and color it. And then I will dry it. And I'm also going to do the ring. You can see the difference once it's dried. And look at that sleeve. Nice. Okay, so then I'm going to take the red paint and I am going to work on her fingernails. A little fact about me is when I got out of high school, I went to cosmetology school, so I did get my cosmetology license, and I learned how to paint nails and do all those good things. So just trying to make it nice and clean like I would if I was painting my own fingernails. All right, so this is 2 coats. I let it dry in between. Now I'm going to take the ring and we're going to fancy that up. So what I'm going to do is clip off the little knob that's on the ring, and then you use this little sander to sand it down and get all the shiny off and get down to the gritty stuff. And then we're going to pick a stone for her ring. And you got so many thrifted options, beads, you can use just about anything. I decided to use this little sparkly red bead. It looks like a ruby, and it's actually a button, so I'm going to clip the back off. Then I'm going to sand it so that it will be rough too, because the rough surfaces are going to stick better together. It gives the the glue a little something to grip to. So I'm going to use E6000. I'm going to add it on there and then sit that stone right on top of it. Now, that gives her a nice look, and I think the ring looks so much better. She looks very rich and elegant. Right now, she looks kind of like maybe a skeleton, a vampire, a ghost with the white hand. I'm going to change it in a bit. I'm going to add some glossy Mod Podge to the fingernails to give them a shiny appearance, like she has acrylic on her nails. You know, shiny. She wants to be pretty. She's a sophisticated gal. Nice even strokes, so when it dries, it looks like actual fingernails and like she really had a manicure. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to begin to age the piece. So don't get scared. I'm putting a lot of wax on here. I don't normally do it this way, but sometimes this is what it calls for. So I'm going to just rub it in here. I'm using a rough brush, and I'm going to pounce it down in all those little open areas in the design. And then I'll take a dry paper towel and wipe it back. I'll look at it and see if it's giving it the depth that I want. And if you see that maybe you wiped a little too much off, all you have to do is grab that brush, add a little bit back, and just continue the process until it is just the way you like it. Wax does have to dry, just so you know, it does need to dry. We're going to start working on the hand. So I'm putting this all over the fingers, the wrist, the inside of the hands, around the fingernails, all over the place. And this is going to change her. It's going to look a little more, I'm not going to say realistic, because, you know. For all the information for the Crafty Cruise Getaway, look in the description box below. Now I'm making sure that I pounce this down in all of those little wrinkles and depressions in her fingers and around her fingernails. I'm also going to go on the inside of her fingers and in the palm all the way down to the cuff. Then I'll take a soft towel and just wipe that all back. This is like a baby washcloth. I got a pack of them from the thrift store, and they work great for these projects. They're very soft. And so I think that gives her a little extra eerie vibe. What do you think? But you could certainly do yours any way you like it. Just make it your own. Use mine for inspiration. I've decided I want to add some lace here. I like this pretty doubled over. It's like two different rows, different types. It's a satin and a lace. I think this makes a pretty cuff. It's about the same size as what she already has around her wrist. You could use black. You can use red. Just let your imagination run wild. This is your piece. This is your candle holder. Make it as dressed up or dressed down as you like. And if you like it just the way it was, leave it that way. You could still make a pretty candle to put on it. Glue down the edge, cut your trim off, make her nice and neat. And this is how it's going to look. And then we're going to address that black flame candle. So now that it's been painted, we're going to take that tape off of the light or the flame. Now we need to make this look like a black flame. Right now, if you turn it on, it's just going to be a white flame or yellow. It's kind of a yellow color. But we need to address it because we want to make it look like a black flame. So using some more gloss paint, and this is just in the little bottle. You don't want to spray paint this because if you do, you're not going to see any of the light peeking through. But by using this technique and pouncing it on that little light section or the little flame section, it's going to look when it's sitting still like it's solid black. But when you turn the light on, it's going to look like a smoldering piece of wood or a smoldering charcoal, something like that. Once it's dried, you can take some more of that color shift paint and color right over it. I'm going to just gently apply this to that dried paint. Definitely make sure it's dry, and just starting at the bottom and kind of pulling it toward the tip of that flame so that it's pretty even when the candle is not, you know, it's not, air quotes again, burning, or it's not on. It's pretty. It's going to be even brighter. Now see, doesn't that look like charcoal, like a smoldering piece of wood at a campfire or something? I love that. I think that's a convincing black flame. What do you think? It's not blue, but, you know, I think it'll work. All right. Now, because the hand, this little depression where a candle goes is not the right size for my chosen candle, I'm just going to fill in the gap there with some of this thick, it's like a felt. It's like a felt sheet. It's what I use on the back of like pictures and things that I make. Y'all have seen it before. And now it will sit right down. I'm making sure that the flat part is up against that finger so that it scoots all the way back. Okay, so now we're going to use this type of brush. It's a fluffy brush. It's kind of rounded on the bottom. It makes painting this type of thing so much easier. I'm going to start toward the candle flame and then go outward all the way to the edge because I wanted to add some magic to my candle. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. It's totally up to you, but I think with this color shift paint, it really makes it look like magic is spilling out of the candle, which for me, I love that. I think it's pretty. Now, it's going to be more vibrant the more layers you put on here, and I did add, I think, maybe 3 layers on here. It dries fairly quickly, in my opinion, in my circumstances. It dried pretty quickly. That's what it looks like at first. You see it's kind of a milky look. But then look at after 3 coats. Does that not look like magic just spilling out of that black candle? I love it because it looks like the magic comes from the inside. Almost like when you see those bleeding candles and they look white on the outside and then they start to drip the red, which I think they're kind of gross. I don't like them. But in the circumstance, you know, I can compare it that way. Like it's a black candle, but once you light it, all this magic comes out. I think it's so pretty. I think she is so fabulous. Look at the paint on that cuff of her sleeve. Oh my goodness. And the old aged looking metallics, the gold, and then this iridescence. Here it is when the lights are off. So it was requested that I make a black flame candle. And so this is my interpretation. I would love to know how you would make your black flame candle. Take mine as inspiration and make it your own. Look. It looks antique. I love that. The next project is a spell book. Here's that other little piece. Some Java chalk paint, brushes, and also some black chalk paint, and this little book that comes from Dollar Tree. I know that I want to put this on here because I want to add a little more dimension onto the book. And I thought, hey, let's make this like a magic book. So we're going to put this down on here with some hot glue. I'm putting the glue down and then smearing it with the hot tip of that glue gun, smearing that around because I want it to be, make sure that it's flat, but I do not want this to pop off at all. So I'll do a couple of things to make sure she stays in place. I'm going to get it centered, press it down, flip it over, give it a little time to dry. And then we're going to address the little line or the gap between the outside. So it's kind of squared off where it meets. And we're going to do it like you would do caulking in a bathtub. So you want to go around the edge with the tip of the glue gun right in the angle there, right between the two. And just pull that bead of glue continuously all the way around. And that's going to kind of seal it and make it look like it's made into the book cover rather than glued on top. I've taken the Java paint and painted everything except for the pages on the side and the top of the book. And I'm going to paint the bottom of this, the Java color too. Just my preference because it's going to be sitting on a shelf. It's going to be standing up on a shelf actually, so you won't see it. But if you want yours to lay down like in a stack, of course you would want to make this look like pages as well. But who wants to see those holes in there, right? Nobody wants to see those holes. So I'm not going to do anything to draw attention to that. They do kind of disappear though when you put black or dark brown on there. All right, so now we got the pages to deal with. I did make a mess on the top, but I want to show you that it doesn't matter. I'm going to take this mocha paint and have these pages looking like they're aged. I'm going to put it where all the pages would be, and you see that it gives a pretty good coverage right over the top of that. I don't need it to be complete full coverage because we are also going to age these book pages, and you're not going to notice any of that darker color underneath. You could do plaster, you could do white, you could do gray. If you wanted these to be solid gold, they could be solid gold. If you wanted them to be bronze, you could paint them bronze. So many options for just the tiniest amount of money, right? And you most likely already have a variety of paints that you already love in your house, so use what you have. And we'll go all the way up to the spine of the book. We're going to make sure that that is good and dry. This is like a puffy sticker. I had a few of these from the scrapbooking days, and I saved them, and I've used them in projects, and I really enjoy them because they have an aged look. But in order to make this look like it's part of the book, I want to be sure I don't have any of that paper showing. So I am going to take some black paint. You could also use the Java paint if that's what you choose. It's a very dark brown. And I'm going to go all around the edge to cover up the paper color and just, give it that extra little bit so that it doesn't stand out as being a sticker on top of a book. I'm going to try to get that placed where I like it on the bottle that's on there. And it says potions, so you can see that it's a potion bottle, and this is our potion book and our little spell book. Okay, y'all, the numbers. Y'all figured out what this 1693 is? What movie is it from? Think about it. And I'm also going to take these tree stickers. I do use 2 of these. I'm going to get these ready and set them aside and start working on this book over here. I just knew that I had to get those stamps out. I didn't want to forget what I wanted to do with them. Just like when you're putting on blush, you want to pack it into the brush and you want to tap it off, right? You want to get off the excess so you just don't smear your face up with color. You don't want fully saturated color. That's kind of like it is here. I'm using like a stenciling, kind of swirling over the details on the corners of this book. Now I know that the dark brown that I used, you can't really see all the details in it. Trust me, take my word for it. They're there. There's a lot of detail in this little, what is this? Plaster piece, ceramic piece. And I'm going over it with this black to make it really kind of give the depth that I'm looking for. And sometimes the brush sheds, just flick it off like I did. Now you can see it, right? If you want to do the whole book like this and that's all, you can. See, I'm getting around the edges too, just like how a book would get kind of dirty and bumped up on the edges. I'm going to drag it all down that spine, but with a lighter hand so that it doesn't look as dark. Now, the lighter little spots you see on the back of the book is just because of the material that the book is made out of. And until you seal that chalk paint, it will do that potentially. Now I'm going to go back over and use either black or the brown paint that you use all over where that glue is from the book. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to take another little rough brush. It's not a chippy brush. They were all dirty at the time. And I'm going to take some more of that Java paint and just barely drag it across to make it look like pages. I'm going to grab my favorite espresso, push that paint up into the fibers of the brush, really push it up in there, and I still thought I had too much, so I grabbed a paper towel, pounced a little more off. Now I'm going to lay that brush almost at a 45-degree angle and just lightly pull it over the details. Now you can see the details. The good thing about this is because you put the black down underneath, it really recesses those areas, and the areas that are higher that you're putting your metallic color on looks a lot higher. So the spaces look deeper. Does that make sense? It gives more of a look of depth. It really does. It makes it look more like something that has been carved, into the book. And I love that. I think it makes the piece look so pretty. It doesn't take a lot of work, really, and this is just a very little amount of paint. And you can build it up as much as you want because everything that you touch with that metallic color is going to be highlighted. I'm just putting a tiny, tiny bit over the potion just so that it looks like it belongs on the book. You could use a silver here, you could use gold, you could use copper, whatever you want to use on your book. You could make your book completely black rather than using the dark brown. But to me, the difference in the colors is what makes the depths and makes everything look it just pops to the eye to me. Now add as little or as much as you want. I'm also going to do the binding or the spine of the book by dragging it across. And I thought, the fabric that you see on old books, it's not just like a paper. You know what it is. Y'all know if you have an appreciation for old books, it's a fabric. And it almost has like a hash type pattern. It's like a linen that's on the books. So I thought by making that crisscross that it really would sell the fact that this is a real book. In my mind, as real as you can get it for something that's a craft, right? And then I'm going to take what's left on the brush and drag it across the areas of the pages. But like I said, your pages could be completely one solid color if you would like. Now, of course, we did it to the front. We need to go on to the back and do the same thing. So I'm just dragging it across the back, and I'm going to do in two different directions, lighter in the center and heavier toward all of the outside edges. And it just gives it more of like a fabric look on the back. And you see my little fingers fit right down in the bottom. It makes it easier for me to hold the thing while it's wet. Now, I'll have this link for you as well. And this is Tim Holtz. This is not a sponsored video, but I ordered some of these from Amazon, and I think they'll be great for this project. I'm going to take this ink pad and I'm going to go right over this 1693, just tap, tap, tap. This does have like a distressed look, the stamps themselves. And I think I thrifted the stamps, but you could get something at Dollar Tree, I'm sure. I'll sit it down, and without moving it up, I'm going to rock it back and forth. It looks weathered and worn and old, and I love it. Then I'm going to add a tree at the bottom, pressing it down and rocking it back and forth gently, and then lifting that off. And then I decided to try a different tree for the other section, and I was so excited that these stamps fit on this book. It's given me so many ideas. Making sure my placement's where I want it. Same thing, I'm just going to rock it a little bit. And I'm not even going to distress over the top. I'm going to leave it just like that, and I think that is so cool. And if you didn't guess, this is Hocus Pocus. Yep, our sisters from Hocus Pocus. Let that thing completely dry, and she is ready to go somewhere in a vignette in your home. And really, honestly, you could use this in Moody Decor any time of the year, but at Halloween, this is a good one to add. Here she is. And I think it turned out very nice. It's different. It's special to me. It's exactly like I like it, and I encourage you to make things exactly how you like it. No need to copy anybody, right? I want you to look at this rectangle right here. If you like this video, I think you're going to like this one too. I thank you for stopping by. I will see you soon. Bye.